Hi, I'm Jennifer Lee, Admin Evangelist, and this is How I Solve This. Today, we will talk to David Carnes of OpFocus on how he empowers a new sales VP by using report formulas to provide clearer insights into opportunity data. Hi, David.
How's it going?
Great. So, David, you are the chairman and chief evangelist at OpFocus. Please share with us what OpFocus does and a little bit about what you do there.
Sure. OpFocus optimizes revenue operations for SaaS companies. So we're a team of about 50 spread out across the US and Canada, and we've been a partner in the Salesforce ecosphere since 2006.
And I understand that you have been in the Salesforce Ohana for 13 or so years.
16.
Now that's a long time. So can you share with us a bit about you, your journey, and what the community means to you?
Yeah, the community's been fantastic, really from day one. I had worked for 3 software companies prior to working with Salesforce. And when I first saw Salesforce in 2004, there was this feeling of, where have you been all my life? Because I used to have to babysit servers and deal with upgrades and hacker attempts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And Salesforce took all of that on and allowed us to really focus on solving business challenges with the technology. In the early days, I went to, remember going to the Boston user group, and there were about 20 people. And I remember somebody standing up and talking about having 700 dashboards in their instance. And it was just unfathomable at the time. And to think all these years later, there are over 1,000 user groups. The Ohana has been fantastic all these years to be a part of.
And I hear that formulas are near and dear to your heart. Now, can you elaborate on why that is?
Absolutely. One of the things in talking about report writers about solving challenges that they have is I really want them to always keep in mind that if they're stuck on something, that a formula may be the solution to the problem. They're really like a Swiss Army knife within Salesforce for solving things. So keep that in mind, that formulas solve problems.
Great. And what is Dashboard Dojo?
Oh, cool. Yeah. The Dashboard Dojo is something I'd thought about for a while. Finally got it started last year. So it's a group that meets twice a month to learn and practice Salesforce reports and dashboards together. So our next session will be coming up in September. And usually once each month, we'll do a hands-on session. And it's just been fantastic, the response to it and the group that we assemble each month. Great.
Now, can you share with us the background and key business problem that you're trying to solve?
Absolutely. Sales leaders come and go. And in a sales organization, if there's a new leader that's come on board, one of the gifts that we can give them is a bird's eye view of the open pipeline. So all of the currently open deals by the owner and by the stage in a matrix report, nicely collapsed and easily visible like bird's eye. One of the things that doesn't reveal to us is information about past win rate. It also doesn't reveal to us any kind of projection for the future, what might close. And so in this case, I really love this idea of giving a bird's eye view of the open pipeline, but I also like providing a little additional intel. So in this challenge, we'll create a joined report, and we'll have a first block showing closed opportunities, and we'll use a summary formula to calculate the win rate. And then we'll add a second block for open opportunities, and we'll use a cross-block summary formula to multiply the win rate times the open amount, and we'll calculate a projected amount. And the idea here is to give our new head of sales the most intel we can about what's going on within the pipeline.
Great. Now, we'd like to see how you solve the problem.
Oh, cool. All right. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. This is an example of that open pipeline. And, I'll go ahead and sort this a slightly different way. And we'll see that this gentleman, Nick Weaver, who's been on the sales team for a while, he really has nothing at the bottom of his sales funnel. So this is a report of open opportunities grouped by owner, on the vertical, and grouped by stage on the horizontal. And this is essentially giving us our total open pipeline by owner and stage. And toward the bottom of his sales funnel, he really is in trouble. He's got nothing that's going to close imminently. Whereas we have somebody named Irene McCoy, who looks like she's actually pretty well set to go close business. Now, if we just handed this to our head of sales, she may not realize that actually the information is quite different, that Irene is not a very talented salesperson and does not have a history of closing deals, whereas Nick has a much better history of closing deals and will likely close more of this pipeline than Irene will based on their past performance. And so the way that we solve that is, as I mentioned before, to create a joined report. And this joined report has two blocks on it: closed opportunities on the left with a summary formula to calculate the win ratio. And this win rate shows Nick Weaver at an astounding 91.67% win rate. So of all the deals that he's won or lost, he's won 91% of them. Whereas Irene McCoy has a much more, let's say, pedestrian win rate of 62%. Now, we know that Irene has a massive open pipeline of $23 million. These are the deals that she's currently pursuing. So for a new head of sales, that may be a little bit misleading given their past win rate. And so what we're doing here in this second block on the joined report is we're showing the open pipeline, which is the sum of the amounts, and then the projected amount won, which is a cross-block formula multiplying the win rate times the sum of the amounts to give us the projected amount won. So in this case, it's showing that Nick has a projection of 17 million, and Irene, even with a much higher pipeline, has a projection of only 14 million. Now, this is only one simple, there could be so many different factors in this, and probably what I'd do is couple this with expected revenue, which is an out-of-the-box field of the probability times the amount. And I might also enable opportunity scoring in this Salesforce org and do another calculation based on the Einstein opportunity score divided by 100 times the open amount. And that might allow us to triangulate on what's really likely to happen. So to build this report, again, it's a joined report with two blocks, and we're going to write a formula in each block. And so, as always, when you create a report, you can make it into a joined report by clicking on the arrow in the top left corner and then choosing joined report. And then immediately what I'll do is I'll go ahead and make this first block, I'll relabel it to closed ops, and then I'll adjust the filters so that it's showing me the close date of all time and just showing me closed opportunities. In this case, closed means won or lost. Now, what that's going to allow us to do is to add a summary formula on that block. And if I choose add summary formula, and I'll just show you the formula itself, it's just a simple win rate calculation. And what we're doing is we're taking the count of the deals that are won, so the sum of them, and then dividing it by the count of deals, the sum of the closed deals. And you can do that just by scrolling down on the left, doing the won sum divided by the closed sum. Usually I'll go ahead and select from the field selector over here on the left so that I don't have to worry about getting the notation correct on the right. So this formula is pretty simple. I'll usually click the validate button to ensure that the syntax is correct. And we can see the win rate applied. Now, because this is a joined report, I can actually add up to 4 more blocks. We can have up to 5 total blocks, and we can even reuse the same opportunity report type, in this case, just on opportunities. So to do that, we go ahead and add a second block. And when I add the second block on opportunities, I'll go ahead and relabel it. And this one, I'll just label open pipeline amount, so dollars, and win rate dollar projection. And so what we're going to do is sum the amount column, and then we'll add a cross-block formula on that. So when we have our second block added, what we want to do is go to the filters and make sure that this is giving us all the opportunities of all time that are open. So the total open pipeline. And if I go back to my outline, what we can do to add the cross-block formula is click on the down arrow, add the cross-block summary formula. And what that looks like, it's a little different. So this allows us to do the math across the blocks. So what I'm doing is recreating the win rates on the left block. In this case, it's referring to it using array notation that block 0, the won sum, divided by block 0, the closed sum. And the way that I can do that, I can see my blocks over here on the left-hand side, And I'm just going to literally recreate the win rate, which again is the won sum divided by the close sum. And then I'll go to the second blocks, and you can see that the labels have been applied even in the formula editor, which I think is fantastic, so that we make sure that we select the correct fields. In this case, from the open pipeline block, I'll go ahead and select the amount. So I would just go ahead and highlight that, click on insert, and then it drops it over here. And you can see that the array notation is basically referring to it as block 1. So B0 refers to the first block in the report, B1 refers to the second block in the report. And I'd go ahead and validate that to make sure the syntax is correct, apply it, and then we can see the projected amount here. So in this case, we're just trying to give the head of sales, our new head of sales, a little bit more intel into what's going on in the open pipeline. A new head of sales is under a lot of pressure to fix whatever is wrong, but also close the deals that are open. And so this is helping the head of sales close what's open by applying a little bit of past intelligence and creating a projection from that.
That's super cool. Thank you, David, for being a guest today on How I Solve This and for showing us your solution.
Oh, my pleasure.
That was a great example by David of the power of formulas in reports to really provide that deeper insight into data that may otherwise only show part of the overall story. Formulas are an admin superpower. You can always find videos like this at admin.salesforce.com and also by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Salesforce Admins, so you will never miss another episode of How I Solve This. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.